Monday, October 2nd, 2006 was a bright, sunny day in Nickel Mines, Pennsylvania, a day typical of the autumn beauty in that part of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Shortly after 10 o'clock on that cloudless morning, though, something horrifying began to unfold at the West Nickel Mines Amish school. A non-Amish man backed his pickup truck to the front door of the one-room schoolhouse and entered the building. Inside were 26 Amish children, students, and 5 adult women, the young teacher at the school and 4 of her adult women relatives who happened to be visiting the school that day and observing the classroom. The intruder, Charles Roberts IV, was a local milk truck driver, so all of the students and the adults immediately recognized him. They also recognized, though, immediately that his demeanor this morning was frighteningly different. He was also heavily armed. He ordered everyone to lie on the floor and suggested through several of his comments that he intended to molest the children. The teacher and one of the other adults dashed for a side door and escaped for help. Startled by their departure, and apparently sensing that his plans were going awry, Roberts ordered the other adults and the boys out of the school as well. Then he nailed the doors shut from the inside, pulled the blinds, which totally darkened the room. Amish schools have no electricity, so there's no lights other than sunlight, and proceeded to tie together the legs of the remaining children, 10 girls, who were still lying on the floor in the front of the room. He told them he was angry at God, that he had been for years, that he could not forgive God, and that he could not forgive himself for not forgiving God. By this time, remarkably quickly, the police had begun to arrive at the school, responding to a phone call the distraught teacher had made after running a half a mile to a neighboring house. Realizing that the police were asking him through a bullhorn to surrender, Roberts himself called 911, telling the responder that he would shoot everyone if the police did not leave. Only moments later, he did open fire, getting off 13 shots in 8 seconds. The rampage killed 5 of the girls and severely injured the other 5. After firing a shot through a window at the police, he killed himself. Within hours, actually within really about an hour and a half, these shocking events became news literally around the world, in part because there was a BBC reporter on hand, and the story went to Europe and around the world from there. But the story, and might note this here, at first this wasn't news because a man shooting young girls was deemed newsworthy. Unfortunately, that fact was assumed to be commonplace. Male violence against girls wasn't the news story. Instead, the story that American and foreign journalists first beamed around the globe was that the last safe place you can imagine, rural Amish schools, had just been added to the list of school shooting sites. Now, no place was safe. Wherever you are, the implicit message was, be afraid. But within 48 hours, the media story shifted from one of lost innocence to bewilderment and even consternation. The victimized Amish community was reacting in strange ways to the violence that had visited them. Within 8 hours of the shooting itself, by about 7 o'clock that evening, members of the local Amish community visited the gunman's widow, his parents, and his parents-in-law, extending sympathy to them, assuring his family that the Amish would not scapegoat them for what he had done, and reaching out to them as fellow victims, offering their sympathies on their husbands, their son-in-law's self-inflicted death. Amish grief was intense, but they didn't convert their grief and shocks into calls for retribution. True, the killer was dead, but the Amish did not engage in the most common form of revenge that we see, that is, attacking someone's character or degrading their memory. While other non-Amish neighbors said to the media or wrote in letters to the editor that they hoped Roberts was enjoying burning in hell, the Amish said they trusted he had met a merciful God. Nor did they imply that his apparent mental illness was a moral failure, again, something that some others did. Instead, the Amish spoke of him as a troubled man whose survivors needed love and compassion. 6 days later, when most non-Amish neighbors stayed away from Robert's burial. Local Amish people, including Amish parents who had buried their own daughters just the day before, comprised half of the mourners who came to Robert's graveside service. Again, they greeted his survivors, hugged them, extended their sympathy, and cried together. The funeral director, who had participated in thousands of funerals in his career, had never seen anything like it, and said, "Today I witnessed a miracle." About the same time, an ad hoc Amish committee set up to oversee funds that poured in from around the world for a victims fund announced they would be giving